We're going to use the next 2 class periods to make conjectures about patterns and use inductive reasoning in order to draw the next figure or predict the next number given that pattern. So this is essentially going to lead up to our sequences and series unit after spring break. Really, I believe you could try this worksheet without any input from me. So if you feel comfortable trying the worksheet and then playing the video to check your answers, you're welcome to. If you feel more comfortable watching the video for some input and then attempting the homework, that's completely fine as well. So we'll kind of just see how that goes. Do whatever makes you most comfortable. But I'm going to go ahead and get started discussing the material. For 1 through 4, all we're doing is we are trying to look at the sketches that I gave you, and you're going to predict the next figure in the pattern. So for number 1, you can see we start off with a single dot, then 3 dots, where there's 1 dot on the first row, and then 2 in the second. In the third figure, we have 6 dots in total, with 1 in the first row, 2 in the second, 3 in the third. Hopefully you're noticing that each time we're going from one figure to the next, we are adding a row with 1 more dot than the previous. So here I started with 1 dot, then I added a row with 2 dots, then I added a row with 3 dots. So now I'm going to redraw this figure here and add a row with 4 dots. So it would look something like this. Keep in mind, I'm a math teacher, not an art teacher, so it may not be the prettiest thing, but you should get the general idea of what's going on. Number 2, we can see that you have 3 different triangles, and for each one, the arrow is pointing in a different direction. So I need to figure out what the pattern is going to be or what the next triangle will look like. We can see that the first one is opening down because of the arrow. The second triangle is opening to the right. The third is opening up. So we've gone down, right, up. The only direction we haven't gone yet is left. So that probably would be my next figure. So I'm going to put an arrow there, and I'm also going to put 2 dots here and here so it matches the triangles perfectly. Number 3, we have different rectangles. So here you can see we have a rectangle and half of it is shaded on the right. And then here we have half of it shaded at the top. Here it's left. So I've done right, up, left. The only thing is down. So my next figure, if it's following the pattern, should look something like this. I'm going to shade that a little bit more. Number 4, really the only thing I'm concerned about is the pattern. And when I see that here, I see a 3-sided figure, a 4-sided figure, a 5-sided figure, and then now what you're going to have to do is draw a 6-sided figure. I'd like to remind you what these figures are called. Remember, a 3-sided figure is a triangle, 4-sided figure is a quadrilateral, 5-sided is a pentagon. So now we're going to draw a 6-sided figure, which is called a hexagon. And that would look a little something like this. If you wanted to follow the pattern, what was happening each time was each vertex was connecting to the other vertices. So if I wanted to draw the lines, this vertex would connect to all the other ones. So this one already is connected, then here, 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 and it's already connected to this one here. Then starting at this vertex, I'm going to connect it to all the other ones it's not connected to. Same thing here. At this vertex, it's already connected here, but now I need to draw a line here and here. This vertex already has the connections to 2 out of the 3. This one I can see is already connected, and this one is also already connected. For 5 through 8, we're going to describe the pattern of the sequence of numbers and then predict what the next number would be. So in order to do that, I'm going to write it below here where I've left some more space. A sequence is just a list of numbers, which is what we're seeing happen here. So I want to know, how do I get from 2 to 5? From 5 to 8? From 8 to 11? How am I getting from one term to the next? Well, when I'm looking at these numbers, if I'm searching for a pattern, what I notice is that I'm adding 3 each time. So if I need to predict what the next number would be, I need to add 3 to 11, giving me 14. So it did say describe the pattern. This is enough, or you could write it out. We are going to add 3. Number 6, we have 27, 9, 3, 1, so on and so forth. So now take a moment to look at this and ask yourself, how do you get from one number to the next? Hopefully, it's plain to see that rather than adding or subtracting numbers, it's a possibility you may have to multiply or divide by something. So there's 2 different ways you could have seen this one. The first way is saying, hey, to get from 27 to 9, I divide by 3. The other way of saying it is that you multiply by 1/3. I think just saying division by 3 is easiest, so that's what I'm going to do. Now, to predict the next number, I need to divide the number 1 by 3. Well, 1 divided by 3 is 1/3. If you wanted to put the decimal, you could put 0.3 repeating. Now, if you were to describe it, this is fine. You're showing me the pattern. You're showing me your work, or you could write out divide by 3 or multiply by 1/3 if that's how you saw it. Next, we have a pattern of 1, 2, 3. 2, 3, 4, 3, 4, 5, 4, 5, 6, and I want to predict the next number. With this one, it's not really adding or subtracting or multiplying or dividing that I notice here. What I'm seeing is a pattern in the digits themselves. So you can see each one has 3 digits. The first one is 1, 2, 3. The second has the 2 and the 3, and then adds on a 4. The next one is a 3 and a 4, and adds on a 5. The next one, using the one in front of it, has a 4 and a 5, and it adds on a 6. So if I'm repeating that pattern, I'm going to use the last 2 digits of the term before, so 5, 6, I'm going to add 7. So 567 was the next term. It's kind of hard to show the pattern by adding and subtracting and all that because it doesn't work that way. So we do have to actually describe it here, and there's different ways you could word it. I'm just going to say that the pattern is that there are 3 digits. Use last 2 digits from previous number, so the number in front of it, then include the next consecutive number. That's just how I would have worded it. You could have worded it differently, but that's how I would give you an example of putting it into words. The next pattern is 5, 7, 11, 17, 25. Take a look at this and try to identify what the pattern is. Remember, we can add, subtract, multiply, divide, or just notice a number with a pattern with the digits themselves. And if I'm asking myself, how do I get from 5 to 7, from 7 to 11, from 11 to 17, from 17 to 25, I notice to get from 5 to 7, I add 2. To get from 7 to 11, I add 4. To get from 11 to 17, I add 6, and 17 to 25, I add 8. So the pattern is I am adding even numbers. So 2, 4, 6, 8, to get the next number, I'm going to have to add 10, which means the next number in the sequence would be 35. (13) and 14 are pretty similar to what we did for 1 through 4. We're just given a sketch and you're supposed to draw the next figure in the pattern. So here I can see I started off with 1 square. And then the next one, notice how each side of this square we've added another square. So I really added 4 squares, 1 on each side of the original square. Here, I took this pattern and did the same thing. I added 4 squares, which is what gave me this shape. So now, instead of redrawing it, I'm just going to add it to this. The next figure would start with this, and I would add 4 squares. Here you can see I started off with 3 squares. Top had 1, bottom had 2. This next one, there's a top of 1, next there was 2, but then there was 3, so I added a row with 1 more than the previous. So 1, 2, 3, now you can see 4. So if I'm going off this to get the next shape, you would redraw this figure, and then you would add another row with 5 squares. So your answer should look like this.